Welcome to Power Podcast with Queen Beauté, where mindset meets transformation. Each episode invites you to awaken your mind, expand your perspective, and rise into your power. Today, we're exploring how to find your fire. Your fire is what lights you up. It's a burning passion that drives your life. It's a single common thread that ties everything ideal to you into one mission. That's what your fire is. Are you following your fire? Here's a hint. Your fire is not possible with partial matches. If you listen to my last episode titled Partial Matches, I talked about the difference between partial matches and full matches, what to do about partial matches, and to only accept full matches. I said shed partial matches, only accept full matches. Later, I will get into how your fire ties into full matches and definitely not partial matches. But first, let's get into some ways to uncover your fire. For those of you already following your fire, great. This will just be confirmation. For those of you not following your fire, here's how you can figure out what it is. The first way to find your fire is with this question. What is the perfect way you would get paid? Again, what is the perfect way you would get paid? The key word here is perfect. Perfect, because there is a perfect. There is a perfect. We can come up with a perfect. I'm going to give you examples. We can come up with a perfect. Do not shy away from perfect. And you're caught up. I see you distracted on your phone. You're caught up like, oh, there is no perfect. There is. You can find a perfect. Stick with me, okay? Trust me. Trust me to walk you through it. Perfect way you would get paid. I'll give you an example from me. Perfect way I would get paid is in my sleep. I would be asleep and still getting paid. To me, that's perfect. I don't even have to be awake. Because if I'm sleeping, I'm definitely not working, I'm not engaging, I'm not doing anything other than completely resting myself. I'm not even conscious, and I would still be getting paid. To me, perfect. That is perfect. Okay, some examples that are not for me, but that someone else might think is perfect for them. It might be perfect for them if they got paid to play video games. Maybe they would just want to play video games all day and they're like, you know what? It would be perfect if I could play video games all day and get paid to do it. Maybe for someone else, it would be perfect if they got paid to laugh. Laughing. Maybe for you, getting paid to laugh at stuff is perfect. Whatever your perfect is, let's write that down. Let's jot it in our notebooks. Let's type it up. Let's put it in our tablet, computer, however you take notes. Let us write that down. So the question again, what is the perfect way you would get paid? This is one way for us to uncover our fire. This is a broad question because if I say it would be perfect if I got paid while I was sleeping, you don't actually know what I'm being paid for unless I said I was being paid for sleeping. Somebody's going to pay me to sleep. Someone's going to pay me to sleep. I'm not concerned with someone paying me to sleep. I'm concerned with getting paid while I'm sleeping. But even if I made that distinction, I would be getting paid while I was sleeping. You still don't know what I'd be getting paid for, right? It's very vague. That's okay. This is what we're supposed to be doing right now. is we're going to start really, really broad and then start to narrow it down. But we need to have the biggest picture possible so that we can consider all possibilities, not just something very narrow and specific, which is probably what you're doing right now and just more money. Someone scared of change would choose an answer that doesn't require them to change. They would want to have change, but they wouldn't want to be change. That's what someone scared of change would do. We don't want to be scared of change. Change is inevitable. Change is how you grow. How on earth can you change if you remain the same? You can't. That's a contradiction in itself. Change but stay the same. Then it's not changed or it's not the same. But either way, there's no changing and staying the same. So you choose. That's on you. Let's bring it back. The question was, what is the perfect way you would get paid? So maybe I'd get paid while I was sleeping. I'd get paid for playing video games. I'd get paid to laugh at stuff. I'd get paid to chop down trees. I'd get paid to cultivate a garden. I would get paid to run. Whatever your perfect is, let's write that down. Perfect. I said perfect, not, well, it will be pretty good because it's better than what I have. No, we're going for the top. Perfect. Perfect way you would get paid. And then we're going to work down from there to narrow it down to something specific. Perfect way you would get paid. Perfect way that you would get paid. I got to keep saying this. Perfect. Perfect way you would get paid. So let's follow my example. Me personally, I would get paid while I was sleeping. I'm not getting paid to sleep. I don't care to get paid to sleep, but I care to be paid even when I'm not awake. So where does that leave me with avenues, with the options and possibilities? In what ventures would we get paid even while we're sleeping? Well, I wouldn't have to be present for something. So it would be asynchronous. I would have to have a product or service that people could purchase or rent without me needing to be awake or present. So I would need to be selling something without needing to be awake to do it. So that cuts out a whole lot of careers. That cuts out a lot of things because oftentimes we're working jobs where we're required to be there. We're exchanging our time for dollars. We have to be there. And when we're not there, we're not getting paid. Or we're salaried, and the more hours that we work, like we bring work home at night, on the weekends, the less we're actually getting paid for our time. So I'm left with, well, what are the different products and services that I could be selling or renting for people to buy or rent while I'm asleep? Well, one example is, let's say I have a book, ebook, audiobook, paper book. Books don't require me to be awake to sell them. I got to be awake to write it. I don't need to be awake to sell it because people can buy it around the clock, like all time zones, all times of the day and night. My book will be for sale. There you go. So being an author is one way that I could get paid while I'm sleeping. That's one way. Let's say I have maybe a digital course, something that people can go through at their own pace. It's not live, or maybe some parts of it could be if I'm open to that, or maybe it's all just pre-recorded. People progress through it at their own pace and they extract the value on their own time. So I could be asleep and they're getting value. So a digital course, that's another way that I could get paid while I'm asleep. All right. So that's my example with getting paid to sleep, but not getting paid to sleep, but getting paid while I'm asleep. Getting paid while I'm asleep. It almost would feel like I'm getting paid to sleep because I'm getting money around the clock, right? So I could sleep, I could be awake, I could be playing, I could be on vacation, I could be doing all these things. I would love that. To me, that is perfect. And if it's the same for you, go ahead. There's not like it has to be completely unique to you. Otherwise, it's not valid or it doesn't count or you're a copycat. No, 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 because there's only so many ways that we would think are perfect. And you probably are not going to come up with something completely unique when you start at the highest level. Like I'm getting paid to laugh. I'm getting paid to play games. I'm getting paid to sleep. I'm getting paid to help others. I'm getting paid to grow a garden. I'm getting paid to eat. That's probably going to be common. But once we get more specific, then that's when things are probably going to branch off and they may not look the same. But hey, if you would love to get paid in your sleep, let's write that down somewhere. Let's write that down somewhere because all ideas from there that could be our fire will be based on that. What we said was perfect, perfect, perfect way we would get paid. Now, let me introduce another way for us to determine what our fire is. If you knew that you only had one more year left to live, what would you do with it? If you knew, if you somehow knew you only had 1 year left to live, what would you do with it? Would you do something different than what you're currently doing? Would it be dramatically different? Would you keep doing exactly what you're doing with no change, knowing your end is in 1 year? Would you be doing exactly the same thing that you're doing right now? In any area of your life, would you be doing the exact same thing? Would you do something slightly different? Would you do something completely different? If you would be doing something different, knowing that your end is coming up, that's exactly what we should be doing now when we don't know when our end is coming. You should be doing that right now. Instead of, oh, well, if I knew I only had a year left, then I would travel around the world and I would do blah blah blah. We should be doing that now because we don't know when our end is. Like who knows ahead of time their exact end date? Few people. I mean, someone really sick may figure the end is near. But what if you feel completely healthy? When is your end? You don't know if it's tomorrow because tragic things do happen to people. Why not us? Why not me? Why not you? Why is it everyone else? Everyone else can experience tragedy, but that wouldn't happen to us. We don't know that. So, because we don't know, why waste any time not living our fire? Why? Why would we waste any time not living our fire when we don't know when our end is? Maybe for you, if you figured if this is if I somehow knew that this was the last year of my life, what would I want to do with it? I'd want to make sure that I wrote this kind of book. I'd want to make sure I made this kind of product. I'd want to make sure I donated here. I volunteered here. I developed something here. We'll do those things now. If you knew that you had a time crunch, what would you do with your time? Would you want to spend it traveling the world volunteering, living on donations from others? Would you want to spend it around plants or animals, nature, either saving animals or helping to preserve the habitat for animals or plants? We're talking fauna, flora, all of that. Is that what you would want to do? Would you want to spend it just eating different kinds of food, exploring culinary delights? Would you want to spend it making music? Would you want to make something that you thought was meaningful that could impact millions of other people, maybe in a way that music has had an impact on you? Maybe you would want to have that same or bigger impact on other people. Is that how you would spend your last year? Would you want to spend it exercising, pushing your physical body and your mental state to its limits? Like, how far can I go? Can I climb these summits? Can I climb all of the summits? Were there 7? Can I climb all of them? What can I accomplish? Can I do this 100-mile race, 200-mile race? Can I run through this entire country? Can I run along this entire coast, Appalachian Trail? Even as the main character in your story, in your dream, in this simulation, virtual reality, it looks like it all comes to an end for each of us. Why not us too? So if we think it's possible that all of this could end at some point, but we don't know when that point is, why on earth should we waste any time not living our fire? We shouldn't. We should be living our fire every single day. At this point, I've given you 2 major ways to uncover your fire. The first was with answering the question, what is the perfect way you would get paid? The second was, if this was the last year of your life, what would you do with it? If you care about both of those, then look for the intersection. Going for the intersection means looking for the common thread. What's something that ties in both of them together? I'll say that for me, I realized, and I only realized this recently, I'm recording this in February 2025, and I realized this probably in February 2025, maybe January 2025. I realized that the foundation of what I wanted in my life, my base fire, my burning passion, what lights me up, is that I want to leave a meaningful legacy. There are multiple ways to go about that, right? We can leave a legacy in many different areas, and we can go about it in many different ways. But if fundamentally I care about leaving what to me is a meaningful legacy, then anything I do should be tied to that. Anything that I pursue or accept should be tied to that. Otherwise, how else am I going to implement it, right? How else will opportunities come to me if I'm not already aligned with that vision? If I'm not already aligned with that mission? So if I have a partial match somewhere else, I got a partial match somewhere that's not in alignment with my vision, I'm missing out. There's the opportunity cost of what could have been because I'm wasting my time with a partial match. A full match will be right there in alignment with my mission. That's how I'll know it's a full match because I put the time in and I thought about, what do I fundamentally care about? Like, what's the number one, what's the most basic foundational thing that really drives me? What is it? Well, then I should only pursue and accept full matches, because full matches are going to be directly in alignment with that. Whatever that means for you, only accept full matches. I said this in the last episode. Shed partial matches and only accept full matches. This is what I'm talking about. Here's an example of what a full match would look like. It would be in alignment with that. If I care about leaving a meaningful legacy, and yet I'm doing work that is anti-meaningful legacy, I'm tripping. Okay? I am not in alignment. I got a dumb partial match here that I need to shed. I am wasting my time. I already know what my mission is. Why aren't I following it? That's a question I would need to ask myself. Part of my mission, so if my fundamental fire, my fundamental passion, do you hear me? Passion. My fundamental passion is I want to leave a meaningful legacy. I got to figure out what that means to me. What do I mean by meaningful? What would I want to be known for? What would I want to live on after I'm gone? Well, I care about encouraging people to live empowered lives by teaching them how to cultivate and activate strong mindsets. So within that realm, that's part of how I plan to leave a meaningful legacy is empowering others in this specific way, teaching them how to cultivate and activate strong mindsets. Part of that is me talking to people, talking to audiences, talking to groups, talking to individuals. Or I'm writing something to individuals, to audiences in general. I'm writing something. I'm perhaps blogging about it, or I have a book about it, or I'm writing articles about it. So if I'm not doing any of those things, if I'm not doing something that is empowering others through teaching them about the power of mindset, how changing your mind can change your life, I have a partial match. So it could show up as, let's say, the time that I wake up every day. Of all the things that I want to get done in a day, the time that I wake up and go to bed don't give me enough hours to do what I need to do. That means I have a partial match in my relationship with waking and sleeping. Maybe I'm not waking up early enough to get started. Maybe I'm not going to bed early enough to feel well rested for the next day. Then I got a partial match. If all of these things that I want to do that I think are reasonable to get done, I can't do, maybe I need to change something. I need to consider perhaps I have a partial match and I need to try something else. I need to accept something else. Or maybe it's my time management skills. Perhaps I have a partial match there. The way that I'm going about it, maybe the system that I'm using is a partial match because it's not allowing me to be as efficient as possible in getting all the things done that I think I can reasonably get done because I don't know how to manage my time. Then I need to let that partial match go and I need to consider what would a full match look like? What would a full match look like in time management? Or let's say I have a relationship partner and they don't support my mission. My fundamental mission is the leaving a meaningful legacy, and how that manifests in one way would be empowering people by speaking about the power of mindset. If they don't support me, and it's not enough for them to not directly be in your way, like, no, you can't do these things, I don't allow it, I don't like it. Maybe they're not saying those things, but if they're not actively encouraging you to do it, and this is if they've shown that they don't want to change that. If they don't want to change that, they're going to be stuck in who they are. Partial match, get out of here. Partial match, goodbye. Shed, be gone. Be gone, partial match. Because I know there is at least one other person somewhere out there who will be exactly what I need to help me reach my goals, to help me spread my message, to encourage me to uplift me. I know there's somebody out there. So goodbye to you, and I'm going to be open to them. If I'm working at a job that has absolutely nothing to do with empowering people through speaking about the power of mindset, I got a partial match and I need to let it go. What I should do with my time is pursue my full matches, be strengthened in full matches. If I think, I like both of these ideas, the perfect way to get paid, and then if it was my last year of life, what would I do? I care about the intersection between them. Well, here are some examples again for me, but that might also work for you. There's enough room for all of us. Okay. I care about getting paid while I'm asleep. I also care that I have empowered as many people as possible before I perish. I want to encourage and uplift and support as many people as possible through my messages before I go. That's going to be part of my legacy is how many other people have I helped? Because I don't think it's enough to help myself. I want to help others. How many others can I help? All right, let's see. So I want to get paid while I'm sleeping, but I also want to empower others. How can I do both? A digital course could do both. I could create a digital course about empowerment. Maybe there are videos, activities, things that people need to do to interact with it to gather, to get the most value from it, but maybe I don't need to be live. I don't need to be there at the time for every single person. Every person can work at their own pace, thus, even while I'm sleeping, but I'm also empowering others. Or maybe I have a blog, something that I write, and maybe it's monetized and I can make money around the clock. Maybe it's something evergreen or a podcast. Maybe if I monetize my podcast and I record something here and there, or record a lot here and there, and people listen to it on their own time, that's a way for me to get paid while I'm sleeping and also to empower others. Those are just some examples of the intersection. And I mean, I had mentioned being an author, right? Writing a book. Well, I can write a book about empowerment. I can write a book about mindset, a book about how not to be a coward, how to become the person that you wish you had. Maybe I could write books like that because that would be empowering for people. That would show them the power of mindset and I can get paid while I was sleeping. I want to take some time to share my particular story of how I got here. How did I get to this fire, this mission of wanting to leave behind a meaningful legacy? Because I didn't have this shortcut that I'm giving you guys. I didn't have these two questions to really get things going and go, oh, yeah, that part. It didn't happen for me like that. This is why I'm sharing it. I'm sharing it to show I went this whole roundabout way and it took me years floundering around really before I finally came across stuff and then was able to synthesize it into this mission. From what I can recall, I think I was around 17 or 18 when I received a ridiculous chain letter. A ridiculous chain letter. If you don't know what a chain letter is, a chain letter is supposed to be something scary to people and kind of based on superstition. Like if you don't continue and send the letter on, then something bad is going to happen to you because you broke the chain. I received this chain letter that said something like, send $1 to the person who sent you this letter. Also, if 100,000 people send you $1, then you'd have $100,000 and you can have that in just a few days. And I thought, oh my gosh, my young naive mind, wow, that's a lot of money. I can't believe it. People would really just send me money because they didn't want to break the chain. Do you know I sat here and I really did send $1? Like cash, a whole dollar bill. Oh boy. silly, silly me. I actually sent somebody $1. Don't know if they got it, and I guess it doesn't really matter, right? I sent the money like a fool. But that was my first time, I think, hearing about making money in a way that wasn't what I already had heard of or knew. What I had heard of or knew at the time was working a job. You work a job, they pay you. Like you go in somewhere for however long, do all the stuff they tell you to do, and then you get paid. That was all that I knew. I wasn't thinking investing in property, investing in stocks and evergreen and having ways of passive income. I didn't think any of those things. I didn't know about any of those things. I had only known about a job. So when I got this chain letter, this was the first time that I can recall in my life of a way to make money without a job. And I thought it was fantastic. I think what it said was, you know what? I think the letter said, send it to these 3 people. It's like one person sent it to me, and then the person that sent it to them, and then another person back. So you're going back like 3 people. So if you send out letters to say 100 people, and then they each send it to 100 people, and then each of those people, like it was supposed to be some kind of ripple effect, or if each person is sending back 3 of how much kickback that you can get. Do you know? Let me tell you how far I went. Not only did I send $1, I think I did send $3 to 3 separate people. Cash, y'all. Oh boy. But I also went to a a paper store and got a whole bunch of made a whole bunch of copies of this same letter to mail off. Got this mailing list. Don't remember how I got it. Maybe they gave it to me, and mailed off a bunch of these letters. Nobody ever sent me money. That's okay. Nobody ever sent me money. But the idea, that was where the seed was planted. Not necessarily, oh, well, let me just keep sending letters until I get my 100,000 or whatever. It was just making money without a job. There was some point also around that time, somewhere around 18, maybe 19. I remembered seeing an infomercial. I don't remember, maybe it was SMC. There was this old guy that was from a TV show, I think. And so the infomercials are a lot longer than regular commercials. Regular commercials could be like 10 seconds, 30 seconds. Infomercial would be like 15 minutes. And it was supposed to be how to be a drop shipper for some kind of figurines, or you could be someone who's a, maybe it would be like a wholesaler distributor of these products. So you wouldn't have to keep inventory. They would keep everything in some warehouse somewhere. You would have something drop shipped to a customer. So they purchase from you, you have it sent from the warehouse to them, and it would seem like it came from you and that there was no middleman. Like you weren't the middleman. There didn't seem to be a middleman. It seemed like they bought from you and you shipped from your warehouse. And I thought, wow, yeah, this is a way for me to get paid without a job. Okay. I mean, I didn't have the money to invest in it. It was maybe $200-300 or something to get started. But still, that idea was still like, oh, and yet here's another way to get paid without a job. There was a time, I think still around that same time, I went to a meeting. It was for, I don't remember what kind of company it was, but there were products to also sell. It's just that I could do it in person. There wasn't really an online component because online wasn't really a thing. We're talking early 2000s here, late 90s. There wasn't really an online component, but it was still another way to get paid without it being a job where the most I can make is however many hours I work. I can't make more than that. So if I do better, if I make more burgers, or if I sell more sandwiches or more combos, I get a commission. No, it's like it could be really busy, it could be really slow. I'm going to get paid exactly the same. That's at a regular job, an hourly job. Even a salary job like that too, if you're not getting any commission, it's no matter how hard you work, you're gonna get paid the same as if you're doing the bare minimum. So anyways, this was another opportunity, and still that seed was always in the back of my mind, and so whenever I had jobs, because I just didn't know how to break into these other things, and I really didn't like the idea of sales with that last opportunity, with selling stuff door to door, I didn't really like that idea. I would wonder, well, how can I work for myself? If I started this job, how could I work for myself? If I work at Wingstop, how could I work for myself? Well, I could become a franchisee. I could buy a location and be a franchisee. I have my own Wingstop. That was something I considered. I ain't got a couple mil, so there was that. But anytime I had a job, I always thought, how can I work for myself? I want to work for myself. I don't want a job. I want to work for myself. But I really didn't know how to work for myself. And I really didn't have any skills that I could think of. I just kept thinking, I just need someone to give me a chance. I can learn. Just give me a chance and teach me and show me. So I was always wanting to learn and I was always wanting to work for myself. But again, I didn't have a mentor showing me these things. Internet wasn't really something. I was around people who had limiting mindsets. I too had limiting mindsets. I was living limited. But I always had in the back of my mind all these years that I wanted to work for myself, that I wanted to somehow make money without a job. So, did I think, what's the perfect way that I would get paid? Oh, while I'm sleeping. Did I think that? No. But did I think I would want to get paid without being present? I don't want to just only get paid when I show up. I want to get paid even when I don't show up. I want to get paid at any point that's not connected to me having to be there in that moment. Yes, that was something that I had always had in my mind. What I did not have, though, was the what. I had the how. I would get paid at any point, but I didn't have the what. So I tried out lots of different things. I was thinking, okay, well, maybe if I own my own fast food restaurant, or I started cosmetology school. Well, first it was nail school. Okay, maybe I can own my own nail salon. And then the people working there, they would be making money and I would get the money. I wouldn't have to be there all the time. I could be getting paid even while I'm not there. And I went to cosmetology. These things I didn't finish, by the way. I did not finish nail school. I did not finish cosmetology school. I did not finish massage therapy school. I did not finish veterinary assistant school. But anytime I tried out different things, it was always how can I work for myself? How can I work for myself? How can I make my own business out of this? So I didn't have a direction. I had a how, but I didn't have a what. It took me a lot of trial and error to come to the realization of what I wanted. And I think if I had someone sooner say key things to me or ask me key things, then I would have been here sooner. And I'm hoping I'm that person for you, that you're seeing me at a point, doesn't matter when, but you're seeing me at a point and you're going to make a change in your life. You're going to make a pivot and you're actually going to go for your dreams and live your fire. I would say it was maybe around 2021. I had purchased a course from Steve Pavlina called Submersion, and it was about subjective reality. In that 60-day course, it was asynchronous, it was just audio, but in this 60-day course, which I finished in like 2 weeks, one of the days he asked a question like, what would you shamelessly want to be paid for? Like, what would be your biggest dream to get paid for? And an idea occurred to me that I had never considered before. And it was, I would be a motivational speaker. That was my answer. And it surprised the heck out of me because I was like, say what now? She's never done any motivational speaking. What's this? Who? Where? Now, it wasn't that I didn't believe in myself. It's just I didn't know where to find my path. I didn't know where it was. I always thought that I had something valuable, but I just didn't know what kind of job that lined up with. And turns out there isn't one. There's no job where you're working for yourself and being an employee. It's one or the other. Either you want to be an employee or you want to be a non-employee. And one of the areas in the non-employee space is someone who works for themselves. They don't work for someone else. If you're the kind of person who cares about personal development and you want whatever career you have to be around personal development, inspiring others, and working for yourself, that's not a job. You're outside of the job space. You necessarily are outside of the employee realm. And I'd always wanted to be outside the employee realm. I just didn't know how back when I first got that ridiculous chain letter. So after I came to the realization, motivational speaker, I thought, well, shoot, okay then. What does it look like to be a motivational speaker? How does one become one? I went with Toastmasters. I mean, it was something that Steve himself had done. He had been a member of Toastmasters for a few years, and he said that it helped him. So I thought, hey, well, let me give it a try too. I did get a lot of speaking experience with Toastmasters because I took it upon myself to go above and beyond what a typical member would do. I still didn't know, though, how to break into motivational speaking. I thought, okay, so I'm getting practice with speaking, but now what? So that was in maybe 2021. We're talking, this is like 4 years ago. But I was still trapped in, I still had a whole bunch of limiting beliefs that kept me from that realization. Like that was my dream. I want to be a motivational speaker. That was like my first wow, mind blown moment is when I came to that realization. Oh, I have so much to share. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's what I've been doing when I'm a teacher is what I'm trying to teach these kids is so many of them think that they can't do it and I want to show them that they can. And a lot of times there has to be a dialogue about that. We don't even get to the math part, which you're not even ready for the math because you're so restricted in your mind. I hadn't put together that I was already helping people with the power of mindset. I hadn't put that together. In the teaching, that was just one example. Even with myself, all of the battles that I had, I didn't realize that I was fighting against limiting beliefs and that I could use the power of mindset, how I could overcome limiting beliefs, how I could dream bigger, how I could give myself permission, how to not be afraid, how to not be a coward. I mean, I didn't know these things. A lot of what I had been through was just confusion. There was just, I had gaps either due to ignorance or I had gaps due to limiting beliefs. I wasn't really sure. Like I had some ideas here. I didn't really know how to bridge the gap between this and this. I didn't know how to get from here to here. I really didn't know what to do, what to say. So I had ideas like, okay, I want to work for myself. I know there are different ways to work for oneself, but also, what would I do if I was working for myself? What would people pay me for? If I were a motivational speaker, what would I talk about? I don't know. I know I want to help people, but why? What do I want to help people with? There are so many things. Just synthesizing all of the information down took time. It took time, a lot of trial and error, and looking for resources to help me. So if I were to be a resource for someone, I'd want to share with them the synthesized information so that they're not also running around in taking the scenic route and possibly never getting to their dreams. Is here, this is what you can learn from me so that you don't have to make these same mistakes. Or I was once stuck on that part too. I also didn't know what to do here. I didn't know how to get from there to there. Here you go. This is what I did. And maybe that might be helpful for you. I didn't put that together until I took a 5-day boot camp with Jess Ekstrom in January this year. I think it was January, December. January. Yeah, it was January 2025. That was when it finally all came together for me because I had been doing things all over the place and I didn't see what was in common between them. I wished I could work for myself. I still hadn't found a way exactly how to go about that. Well, I mean, I had some ideas. I thought, well, maybe if I have a podcast and maybe if I have a blog somehow. But then it was, but what am I going to blog about? What am I going to have podcast episodes about? This is where I was kind of all over the place. I still didn't have my what. I had the how. I figured, well, there are people getting paid for blogs. There are people getting paid for podcasts. There are people getting paid to speak. Well, what the hell am I going to speak about? What's my content going to be about? Well, it happened to be in this 5-day boot camp. There were just different questions that Jess had asked the group, and it was through discussions with other people in the group that I got the idea, oh, my common thread is mindset. It all makes sense now. It all makes sense. I want to talk about math and I want to talk about fitness and I want to talk about personal development and I want to talk about food and I want to talk about this and those things seem totally unrelated. But I can talk about all of them if I keep them anchored in the power of mindset. It wasn't until I came up with my own mission is like, well, why do I care about the power of mindset? Why do I care about helping other people? That's when I got to my meaningful legacy part. I had already at different times thought, well, if I were to die next month, how would I spend this next month? I definitely wouldn't be at this job. I wouldn't be with this person and I wouldn't be in this place. I just didn't do anything about it because I didn't know how. I didn't have someone giving me some ideas and some ways for how to go about it. I also didn't have a what. I didn't have a clear focus. So I say, with those two questions, what is the perfect way you would get paid? And if this was your last year of life, what would you do with it? I think those questions will give you a strong start. If you don't already have your fire from there, there's more content that I have for you, boo. Keep following. So the thing with, all right, so I'm gonna stop my abridged version of my story, my mission story for now. Let's talk about the value of those two questions. So the perfect way that you would get paid is tied to what you really desire in life. It's like what you fundamentally would want to do if you could do anything. So this is where the perfect part is emphasized. It would be perfect to sleep and be getting paid. Imagine waking up and your bank account is 3 times higher than it was the day before you went to sleep. Wouldn't that be nice? That doesn't say the what, that just says the how. The perfect way you would get paid. That's the how, is I would get paid to sleep. I would get paid to eat. I would get paid to watch TV. I would get paid to play games, video games, card games, board games. Maybe for you, perfect is one of those or something else. The what tends to come up with that second question. If this was your last year, how would you want to spend it? So you would be thinking about what you really wanted to do, and it's probably got nothing to do with money. Or if it is something about money, it's probably about giving it away. You're probably wanting to give it away rather than let me see how much I can earn and then well, what would it be then? I mean, we earn money to spend it, right? We earn money to use it in some kind of way. We don't just earn it and then the fabric itself of the bills is enough for us. It's what money gets us. So what would you want to get instead? Forget the money. Forget the money. Shoot for what would you want the money to get for you? Maybe what you really want is love. Maybe what you really want is to be appreciated. Maybe what you really want is compassion. Maybe there are emotions that you're hoping that the money will get for you, but you don't need money to get these things. Hey, just something to think about. I'm not going to go off on it, but that's just something to consider. What is it that you would actually want in the last year of your life? You probably are not thinking about a job. If this is my last month on earth, job? What job? What job? I would have quit so fast. What job? No, There's no job. I'm not toiling at some job. I'm not going to deal with the office politics. I'm not going to deal with annoying coworkers and micromanaging supervisors. And I'm not dealing with irritable customers. I'm not dealing with, no, there's job. Are you kidding me? This is my last month. This is my last year on earth. There's no way. There's no way, right? All partial matches would be immediately gone, extinguished. There's no way. If you would say, nah, I definitely wouldn't be here with this person in this place, doing this thing, living like this, feeling like this, that means you got partial matches and you need to get rid of them and live with full matches. You need to live your life with full matches and live your fire. I'd want to have adventure. I'd want to have fun. I'd want to play. So if I start thinking about, well, what are some ways that I could have adventure? I could have fun. I could play and get paid for it while I'm sleeping. It could be as simple as recording videos. I'm recording videos of my journey. I'm blogging about it. Hey, I wrote a book about it, around the world in 20 days. Like there's you got to think, hey baby, I'm not thinking of everything for you, okay? I'm not thinking of everything for you. This is where you got to put some thought into it. But ultimately you can find your fire. One of those two ways is going to give you a fantastic start, is thinking about those two questions. I look at our fires as having two components: urgency and intensity. These two questions are supposed to also address that: urgency and intensity. So the intensity is what's perfect for you. Like you would love it. Oh, love it. Maximum. Another reason why perfect is a key word here, because maximum intensity is going to come with something you think is perfect. Like, how can you have maximum intensity for something not perfect? Imagine if you had perfect, right? You'd have maximum intensity, drive, passion for something, right? The urgency comes with the second one. If it was your last year of life, last month of life, what would you want to do with it? Oh, chop, chop. That means you need to get to it. The thing with us not knowing when our end is we should always have urgency then. We should always have urgency because we don't know. We will never know. Most of us will never know when our end is, main character or not. We don't actually know when the end of the story or the end of the dream is, or the end of this part of the story, or this part of the dream, this part of the virtual reality, this part of the simulation. We don't know when the end is. So we need to chop, chop right now. There's no time to waste. It's when you think you have all the time in the world that you don't have urgency and you don't have a fire. You don't think you need to be making progress on it. You don't think you need to go that hard on it. You don't think you need to be 100. And up here, you don't think you need to be intense about it because you have all the time in the world. You don't know how much time you have, though. That's the thing. Those two questions, I think, are key. Another thing that I want to address, long podcast episode, hey, is one of the valuable things about letting your fire burn brightly is that it is a beacon to others. It's a signal. It shows them what you stand for, what drives you, what lights you up. And they'll either support you or they'll excuse themselves. Nope, I don't want any part of that. Great. That is fantastic news. My people will find me if only they saw the beacon. Ah, there's someone else. I was looking for people like that. I'm looking for people like you. Let's connect. Let's strengthen our community. Now that I see where you are, where are all of the fires? Where are all of the fires? Those are places that I'm attracted to. Those are the places, let me see, where's my person? Where's my people? Where's my tribe? They can identify you. Your fire is a beacon. There's a lot to this. Can you believe that I've gone for nearly an hour? So right now I'll end the episode, but not the discussion, and I'll leave you with this insight. Find your fire and let it light your way forward. Thank you for listening to Power Podcast with Queen Beauté, because transformation begins the moment your mind awakens to its power.